Hello, hello, hello. J Nell here with my UFC Fight Night 36 recap video. It actually finished up a couple of hours ago. It was an early event. It actually started at 1 p.m. here in California. I totally missed most of the fights. I was trying to get in there for the top 3 cards, but I couldn't get in time for that third fight. But I did get my predictions out there in time for the co-main events and the main event. And so I made 2 picks and I got both picks. So a little bit of a, getting up off the ground after last week's 0-3. And just like last week, some of the picks I make on my other platforms when I don't have enough time to make a full YouTube video. So you do have to follow me everywhere like I did with these picks that I got out there right before the co-main event on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all of that jazz down there in the description. So please go ahead and follow me on all of those platforms so you can get all of my entertainment and sports combat content. Also, please go ahead and share, please subscribe, please like the video, please go ahead and comment down below, and I appreciate all of the continued support. So let's go ahead and get into this 2 fights co-main event. I got this pick. I chose Tom Aspinall to beat Sergey Spivak, and he did. I actually thought it would take a little bit longer, but you know what? They've been talking about this cat for a reason. I believe he's only 28 years old, and in the heavyweight division, that is quite young. This heavyweight division is the most exciting I think I've ever seen in UFC. When I first started with MMA, I started with Pride, and Pride had a good heavyweight division, but I think this may be the best heavyweight division I've seen in the UFC. I have to go back there. Don't quote me on that, but it is awesome right now. So this ended in the first round. Couple minutes in, someone let me know the time. They're filling each other back and forth, and it is very clear that Tom is much faster. He was whipping out that jab. His movement was faster. Even though Sergey was a bit bigger, he's like, nah, let me go ahead and get my hands on him. So he went to go in for a takedown, got his hands around him, but Tom got an underhook in there, started landing some knees. He landed a knee that landed, and then he followed it up with an elbow up on top, which stunned Sergey and knocked him down. He followed up with some vicious ground and pound. Ref stopped the fight. Great win for Tom. He said, I'm ranked number 13. Just give me number 12. He wants to work up the ranks slowly, and I agree with that. You don't have to boost him forward too quickly like we did with Cyril, even though when I say too quickly, I don't mean Cyril's not ready. I just mean that, we could have had some other fights play out first. But as we know, there might be an agenda behind Cyril with opening up in the French market and all of that. So there's other stuff that goes to that. But with this cat, as he, they're already, let's throw him to the top 5. We think he's ready for the upper echelon of the heavyweight division. I agree with him. Maybe not number 12 since he's ranked number 13, but number 10. I say give him in that 9 to 11 range. 12 if he wants, but someone above him for sure, like he said. But I think you can go up as high as 9. Once you start getting into that 7th, 8th range, you get a win there, and they're automatically going to shoot you into that top 5. So go ahead, let them get 2-3 more wins, keep it at 9 and below, actually keep it at 10 and below, and then let them move forward. But you let me know who you think Tom, I was going to say Aspinall should fight next. Next up, main event, and I got this pick as well. I chose, I'm blanking, y'all. So every time, after the fights, I have like this adrenaline dump. I usually either take naps or like I just like turn my brain off and I have to watch a movie, but something happens to me right after fights. That's actually why I don't normally do the videos after fights. I chose Derek Brunson to beat Darren Till, and he did. This ended in the 3rd round. This was a very dominant performance from Derek Brunson. Darren was coming after him in the beginning, trying to stay in his face, not giving him the space to try to set up takedowns, and it worked for a little bit. He actually clipped, not even for a little bit, he clipped Derek, stunned him a little bit, which actually forced Derek into that's the 2nd round that happened. 2nd round that happened. I'm jumping ahead. 1st round, Derek actually just worked for the takedown. He ended up going down to 1 knee to get it, got the underhooks, locked up the hands, took him down, vicious ground and pound, some nice elbows. He actually had the eye swollen by the end of the 1st. 2nd round, that is when we saw, oh no, I'm still ahead of myself. That was in the 3rd round. We saw more of the same in the 2nd round. It was the 3rd round that we actually saw Till land a 2-piece that stunned Derek, had him wobble back a little bit, and then here came Till. He was like, uh-oh, I'm about to lose this pick. Derek, he was smart about it, kept moving, kept his hands up, managed to get a takedown that he muscled up, got it down because he knew he had to get it down. And then he ended up ground and pound. He was in full mount. Ground and pound. Darren had to turn around, give his back. Derek took the back, rear naked choke, tap, tap. Whew, I got through with y'all. This was a very good win for Derek Brunson. After, I was kind of worried about him gassing, but actually afterwards he wasn't breathing hard at all. He says he's ready for Izzy. He fought Izzy before about 4 years ago and he lost that fight. He's on like what, 4 or 5 fight winning streak, and we have seen an improvement. I'm not sure if he's can take on Izzy, but in that division there's not much left above him. He's in that top 5 already, even coming into this. I believe he was number 5. Jarrett Cannonier comes to mind, especially because Jarrett Cannonier didn't have the best performance against Kelvin Gastelum, so maybe we can see that goes, and the winner of that can get Izzy, or who wins between Izzy and Robert, because Robert looks great in his last fight, so that win's not guaranteed. And if Robert gets that win, there's probably going to be a trilogy match. So he said he's willing to wait, but you might end up waiting longer than you might want to. So we'll see how that goes. You let me know who you think Derek Brunson should fight next. Now, real quick, I just wanted to talk about how Cris Cyborg, who's in Bellator 145 champion, she called out Kayla Harrison. Kayla Harrison is the 155 champion in PFL. She's also 2-time gold medalist. Cris said, now, I know that you're talking about going to the UFC, but you can also make more money in PFL. So basically, she's saying you have options. But she's saying consider coming to Bellator, or at least doing a one-off fight. She really wants to fight her. And of course, she wasn't as humble with the way she said it. She's like, you know, I really want to fight you. I think it could be a good fight. I'll come up to 155. She said, Scott Coker, I've already talked to him. He's down to make the fights. And we know Scott Coker is down to make those money fights. And I think that would be one of the biggest female fights to come in a long time. I'm trying to think of something I've been that excited for. Now we've had the fights that ended up being amazing fights, like Rose versus Zhang. No, excuse me. Zhang versus Yejinchek. And so we've had fights that ended up being amazing that we didn't necessarily expect, but going into it with like amazing anticipation and all of that, like the first time, well, when Amanda fought Cyborg and we didn't know what was going to happen, you know. So I think we could get some of that here. I'm for it. I'd like to see it, especially if she is going to stay there or go to the UFC. If we can get a one-off fight there in between, who knows? That might change her trajectory, period. So let me know what you think of that. Should Kayla Harris stay in PFL? Let me know what you think she should do. And she's been talking a lot of trash, which I'm not mad at her. She is kind of a big fish in a small pond. Who knows? She seems like she does have the ability to compete. If she goes to the UFC, I believe she'll be in 145, and they'll try to build that division around her. We'll see what happens with Amanda Nunes, but I don't know if they'll throw her at Amanda Nunes right away, although they might have to, just due to the lack of the girls in that division. There's only like 5 fighters signed in the featherweight division in the UFC. So let me know what you think of that whole thing. What do you think Kayla should do? Stay at PFL, go to UFC where they don't really have a 145 division, fight Cyborg, go to Bellator. Let me know what you think of that whole situation. And then lastly, real quick, I just wanted to touch on the Big 3. That's the basketball tournament. Ice Cube, this is his baby. And they just had their championships today as well. So I was watching that at the same time as the fights. And it was exciting. I've seen it before. I'm glad it made it through the quarantine because they didn't have a season last year. And this is a league, real quick, where you have the veteran players, but you also have college players who didn't necessarily make it to the league, or just, we all know somebody, or some of us know, if you have athletes in your family and around that growing up, you all know somebody who has the skills to compete in the NBA, but for whatever reason couldn't get there. So I love that this is a chance for players to still play, vets who still got something left, people who never got to show it to begin with. It's a bridge to the NBA. We've already seen a player go from the Big 3 to the NBA. We're seeing that it's a bridge for coaches as well into the NBA. The spirit of it seems not as political like the NBA, and by political I mean NBA politics, as far as trades, salary caps, markets, and all of that things. I'm not talking about politics. It doesn't seem like it's sorry about that yet. You don't have many teams. It's only an eight game season plus the playoffs and the actual championship, so it goes by quickly. You have like one of the people in this championship games is one of the coaches for the Phoenix Suns. So it was exciting. I recommend it. I appreciated it. And the reason why I'm talking about it, if you're wondering why, is because I actually talked about it before, and in regards to Triller. And I said that we knew that we were going to have veteran fighters, boxers, MMA fighters, eventually try to get together some sort of veterans league. They've been talking about that for a long time. We also knew that we were going to have crossover fights between MMA fighters and actual boxers. They've been talking about that for a while. What I didn't see was the rise of bare knuckle boxing to the way it is right now. So all of this was happening, right? What we didn't see, at least for me, what I didn't see coming, because we've had celebrity boxing since before I was born, and that's what I consider like the YouTube boxing. I consider that celebrity boxing. But what I didn't expect was non-combat celebrities, combat sportsmen celebrities fighting combat sportsmen, whether it be MMA fighters, wrestlers, boxers, whatever, like to see a Chad Ochocinco against an actual fighter. That is something that I didn't think we'd ever see happening. So it has expanded in a way that I didn't expect. As far as the Paul brothers go, again, I actually consider that celebrity boxing. However, to see Big Paul against Floyd Mayweather, that's something I never thought we would ever see happen. So to draw the parallels between the Big Three is essentially embraced by the NBA, right? And the NBA's brand is so strong that there was no need for the Big Three. We're happy for it. We're welcoming it. We see that the money's there, and they can embrace it without worrying about it taking away from the NBA, because the NBA brand is strong. Unlike boxing, people want to complain and they want to talk about the Paul brothers. They want to get mad at everybody else but boxing. So this was going to happen. This was boxing's fault for being anemic for the past 20 years, for giving us a star here, a fight we want to see here, a fight we want to see there, and then a bunch of disappointments in between. You have a whole generation that have no actual boxing to compare what the Paul brothers are doing to. That's boxing's fault. So me, I love the drama, I love the circus, so I'm all for it. But just a word of advice to boxing: a fighter shouldn't be taken out of the ranks because they lost 3 times in their amateur career. Fine, don't dismiss fighters for their losses, especially depending on who they're fighting. That way we can get them to fight each other more. Build the following behind the fighters. You have to find a way to make these organizations work together. Put clauses in it. You got to force these organizations to work together. Also, embrace the Veterans League, because that was coming anyway. Embrace the MMA boxing crossover, because that was going to be here anyway, and then you can come up off of it as well and use it to pump up boxing as well. You don't think that the coach from the Phoenix Suns, when we get into the season, that the commentators aren't going to mention that one of the coaches from the Phoenix Suns just won a Big 3 championships? They are going to mention that because they embrace it. The Big 3 also proved that there's money in this alternate style of this particular sport. So I think that actually accelerated the whole situation we're seeing here with boxing, because there's money in other aspects of this sport. So I just want to put that out there. Give me your thoughts on all of that, and give me your thoughts on the Big 3 and how the NBA handled the Big 3, and how boxing could take note from that and maybe handle this situation a little bit differently. So I know it's a lot, give me your thoughts on that entire situation. Of course, Cyborg calling out Harrison, and of course, how you did on all your picks for UFC Fight Night 36. Talk to me about the prelims, the main card, how you did on all your picks, any injury updates, and all of that jazz. Talk to me. Take care, and goodbye.